Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets powered by FTN right here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Thanks as always for taking the time to hang out here today. We got a busy show, Thursday night football. We have the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. The Cardinals favorites here today, 6.5. The total at 50.5 the last time I checked. They're going to be shorthanded here today, the Green Bay Packers. Unfortunately for them, Davante Adams didn't make the trip to Arizona. He's on the COVID list. Allen Lazard as well on the COVID list. They could get MVS back here this evening, activated off the IR. And Arizona coming in a little bit shorthanded. J.J. Watt, unfortunately for him, my goodness, man, was really rooting for J.J. Watt to, just maybe get a ring, get one little last playoff run for him. Unfortunately, word came down last night and then into this morning that he has undergone or he will undergo season-ending shoulder surgery. So unfortunately, J.J. Watt's season does look done. Man, I always root for that guy. Unfortunately, he just had so many injuries. Just seems like one of the nicest dudes ever, right, of all time. Some of the things that he has done with the Texans organization and just a lot of people in Houston when they went through a few things. I believe I think it was like a hurricane that ran through the city a few years ago. And, he did a lot for the community and raised a lot of money. I just wanted to see this guy, play some playoff football. I know he wasn't really, his old self in Arizona, but he was still getting after the quarterback and making things happen. He looked pretty good last week anyway. So unfortunately for him and Arizona, he is going to be gone for the rest of the season. Gilles Gallant is going to drop by like he does every single Thursday. We're going to preview this game from a betting standpoint. Jill's going to call some touchdowns. I got some NFL props for you on the way out. I got to give some love to FTN Alerts because, and a shout out to Kevin Adams as well and a lot of people over at FTN. We have a group where on our Slack where we when the props are released, we really kind of pick and see which ones are, great value right away. We jump in the Discord channel. We say, hey guys, Aaron Jones at 29.5 receiving yards. Jump on this now. And if you use our splits tools over at ftnfantasy.com, you'll see using the split tool, you can go and just see the games that Aaron Jones plays without Davante Adams, and he averages on average, does that make sense? Averages on average 30 more receiving yards per game without Adams. That's the prop right there. So a lot of us have that in the FTN bet tracker. If you're in the Discord channel, you see that. One of us jumps in and say, hey guys, jump on this now because it is going to jump. It's going to rise by the time kickoff happens, and that's really the case. The only place I'm seeing it under 40 is PointsBet. So 29.5 was a great bet. I still like 38.5. We'll get to that in a little bit. I got some props. Of course, there are a handful of games in the NHL, 9 games in the NHL, 6 games in the association. So Tino's going to join us a little bit later on. We're going to talk some basketball picks. We haven't really talked a lot of basketball on this show. It's been heavy NHL, MLB, and of course the NFL. Baseball having the day off here. Yesterday, we did get the Astros and the over there. Kind of felt like they were going to beat up on Max Fried. They just hit lefties so well. I still like the Braves overall. Talked about it yesterday with Charlie Morton. Unfortunately, it's a big blow that he's not going to be with the team the rest of the way. But I do like Atlanta here. Now they go back home, games 3, 4, and 5. That series will resume tomorrow. We'll talk about some picks in that game. But I think I'm going to be on the Braves with Ian Anderson on the bump for Atlanta. NHL picks to come, props to come. I see people hanging out here in the chat here. Love it. Absolutely. Splits_ace says, I love the Rodgers and Cobb over. What do you think? Rodgers, I'm assuming you're thinking passing yards. I like Cobb. Spoiler alert, I got Cobb here over catches and over receiving yards. He's the big winner here in terms of just, stepping up inside this offense. My rankings are found over at ftnfantasy.com. Jeff Ratcliffe, who's one of the top rankers in the industry, as well as Matthew Friedman. You got Derek Brown, Adam Pfeiffer. We got our rankings there, a full point setting, a half point setting, a standard setting. It's all there for you. I think I'm the highest on Cobb, and it makes me feel a little weird when Friedman and Ratcliffe are super sharp. They're way sharper than me when it comes to football. These guys know what they're talking about. I'm sure they're going to do a little bit of an adjustment period with their rankings before kickoff, so keep an eye on that. Friedman has Cobb wide receiver 55. Ratcliffe has him 48. I have him 34. I think he's a wide receiver 3 here today. I think he's a flex guy. I think he can play him as a full point PPR league, I think you could definitely play him as a flex. Only 2 teams on bye here. It's not as crazy as last week, but where are the catches going to come from? MVS is going to take a couple deep shots down the field, but he's a little overrated in my opinion. This is a guy who gets like 8 or 9 targets. Cobb is familiar with the offense. He's familiar with Aaron Rodgers. You have to feel like Arizona is going to score some points here. I mean, the total's at 50.5 with no Adams in this game. Arguably the best wideout in football. Probably the best, right, in football. I think we can all agree on that. Cobb's going to get some targets. Robert Tonyan's going to get some targets. Aaron Jones is going to catch some balls out of the backfield. And they're going to be playing from behind. I do believe they're going to have to throw the football here a little bit. I'm sure they're going to want to establish the run and slow the pace down just slightly and run the ball a little bit more than they did last week with Aaron Jones. I'm sure they were thinking ahead potentially with this short week on the schedule. But Randall Cobb, again, maybe 34 is slightly high, but I would play this guy. I'd definitely play him over Allen Robinson. Like, let's be honest with that. Allen Robinson, Marquez Callaway, Tim Patrick, Odell Beckham Jr. Like, I'm done with those guys. I'm playing Randall Cobb here in this spot. I think he gets maybe 5 or 6 catches. He gets 5 or 6 catches in a full point PPR league. I think we're going to be well on our way. And he says, we got more comments here from Split Eights. If you're watching here on the YouTube section, leave the questions that you have. I'll circle back before kickoff, before puck drop, answer any questions that I don't get to if you're watching the replay. If you're watching here live at Game Plus Network, awesome. Thank you so much. I noticed yesterday, Pat Mayo, the Mayo Experience was on after that. It's pretty cool to go back-to-back. Game Plus Network has a lot to offer from not just a football standpoint, but a lot of fun shows on the network, and happy to be part of Game Plus. So he says, so I'm assuming you don't like Rodgers over passing. The only reason I like Rodgers over passing is because I think Green Bay is going to be playing from behind, is from Split_AC. I agree with you. We'll talk about that in a little bit more here in the next segment. Jill's going to drop in here. We're going to break down that game a little bit more from a betting standpoint, and we'll see what Mr. Gallant is feeling. He is from, of course, FTNBets.com. He's got a couple shows over at Bets Media, Bets TV. The Twitter handle is at Bets Media. He's a sharp dude, so we'll touch on that game a little bit more with him. I want to give some love to the NHL betting package in the show, Dangle Bet Selly, with myself and Eric Young. We come at you every Tuesday and Thursday. We're giving away betting packages on that show. We'll be giving away on Tuesday. All we're looking for is that you rate, review, subscribe. If you are an iTunes listener, the show is live over at iTunes. You can, we would greatly appreciate a couple stars, rate, review. It'll help out the show quite a bit. But if you show us that you're subscribed to that show and you send a screenshot over at Chris Meaney, at the Eric Young, the show is tweeted from my Twitter account and Eric's Twitter account, so a little reply there. Or if you want to email meanstreetsftn@gmail.com, meanstreetsftn@gmail.com, showing that you're subscribed to the show, and we'll put your name into a hat. We'll give away some betting packages, give away 2 on the show on Tuesday. I honestly don't really like to do this. Gonna hold myself accountable because the losses will come, but it's been pretty hot this week on the show. My guy George made a bit of a graphic for me this week, and we've had a pretty good start here. So overall, we're at 33 units in the NHL over at FTNBets.com, 24-5 on this show with the NHL picks. I got some picks, straight up picks for you towards the end of this show, and I got some shot props as well. So hopefully we can continue to, make this happen for us again. Honestly, it's been a hot start. It's unsustainable, but hopefully we can, still provide some winners. So if you are looking to be part of the FTN fam, you can hang out for a month. NHL is the promo code, 20% off, and then you can get everybody's picks across every sport. And we have a lot of sharp minds over at FTN, and you get not just the NHL. You're going to get the Discord channel with every single sport available, and we cover it all over at FTN. Tennis, NASCAR, golf, the Big Four, esports. Everything is over there at FTN. Bets.com. So use the promo code NHL, save yourself a little bit of cash. Hang out with us for a month. Get the monthly package, see what it's all about. You got some NFL tools there, wide receiver, cornerback matchup tools, split tools, pace tools, all kinds of stuff included in the package. Some streams, the Sunday morning betting show with myself, Elliot Chris, and Matthew Friedman. It's all there for you. And if you like it and, it's a good month, then you can hang out with us for the rest of the year as well. Seeing some Packers stuff come in here, continuing to come in here. So let's take a quick break. We'll break and we'll bring in Gilles Gallant of FTN. We'll preview this Thursday night football game. We'll answer any questions that you do have, and hang on because we will have some NHL picks and some bets. We'll also hit the fantasy hockey waiver wire, take a look at the most added and drop players as well. But if you're looking for a big, long breakdown of the NHL tonight, 9 games, Dangle Betselli is live. Eric Young and myself, we already recorded the show from earlier this morning, so that is live, but we will touch on some shot props and all that stuff. So stay tuned, hang around with us. We got a jam-packed show here today, but it's football next with Gilles Gallant of FTN. Keep her locked. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. As we do every Thursday, we bring in the GOAT of FTN, Gilles Gallant. You see the Twitter machine right there, the actual handle on the Twitter machine, that is GDog5000. Of course, you can catch his shows over at Bets TV, the Twitter handle over there, Bets Media. A lot happening. It's just, we're just starting Bets TV. There's a lot of great programs on there. Touchdown Town is one of them, and Dog Day Afternoon. Man, it seems like, Jill, welcome in, dude. We're going to preview the Thursday night football game. It does sound like you guys are having a lot of fun on both shows, and you get together, what, on the Sunday? It seems like you guys are calling 3 or 4 touchdowns every single day on that show, man.
Well, yeah, so Sundays is Touchdown Town. That's at 11 Eastern on Bets TV. Basically, my co-host, Brendan Deeg, and I, we each give 5 picks for the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern games. Obviously, this past week was a historic week for myself. I went 4-1, so I was up 10 units just from the show. And then Sunday Night Football, a little bit of a nightcap, was able to get a 10-1 winner with Carson Wentz anytime touchdown against the Niners. So that pretty much capped off pretty good week 7. Monday was just a dud anyway for touchdowns. Nobody was going to bet Alvin Kamara or maybe DK Metcalf at like plus 175 if you could get him. But even then, that was like the only play he made. There was like no offense in the game. So yeah, we're ready to move on to a game that, even though, like you said, just before I came on about Devontae Adams being like the top wide receiver, but we still have a total of 50.5 for this game. So there's clearly going to be at least 4 or 5 touchdowns, maybe even 6 in this game. So I've got 3 that I think are offering pretty good value for Thursday Night Football.
Nice. Good call on Carson Wentz. That's awesome. That was a nice run that he had. I'd like Carson Wentz to just kind of hand it off to his big brute back that he has in Jonathan Taylor. Try to keep that guy healthy, Carson Wentz. But that was a terrific sneak and a nice little run there. Nice call by you. So tonight we do have.
I was going to say a side note about that, just to bring that up. So you remember when he was with your Eagles the year before and he rushed for a touchdown against the Niners. Do you remember his odds that game were also plus 1,000? That was part of the reason why I wanted to do it, because I watched him rush for a touchdown against the Niners in the exact same scenario. And it was so awesome with this past game because even the camera operator didn't know where it was going. He thought it was handing off to Jonathan Taylor. And I was like, okay, did Wentz score? I'm pretty sure he scored. And then I just, was euphoric after.
And then you went nuts. Yeah, you probably had a big spike in your place, just like Carson Wentz did. Yeah, the camera. I was fooled too. I was with the camera, Jonathan Taylor, and it's like Wentz over at the side. I do remember that. Carson Wentz has some sneaky little speed. I know he had that knee surgery and he didn't run around as much after that, but he does have some sneaky speed and he can call his own numbers. So it's a great call by you. So tonight we have Arizona and Green Bay, like we talked about. I don't fully have a feel on this game. I think the Packers could cover this 6.5. I honestly don't like the over. You're right. Vegas is expecting some points, some touchdowns. I'm sure we're going to get a couple here. We're going to call a couple. You're going to call a couple. But I kind of have this lean to the under in this game. People over at FTN Sharp, like yourself, a lot of people have already put in a bet tracker. They got Arizona at like 3.5, 4, 5.5. As soon as the Adams news started to filter through, and then no Alan Lazard here today. But kick us off. What do you? I guess let's just start with the game. What do you think about the spread and the total?
Yeah, I think it's a little tricky because earlier in the week, anybody who was betting the 3.5, you were basing it off of the strength of Arizona because we thought Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard were going to play. But now at 6.5, I've seen them as high as 7, and then I've seen at other books that might be down to 6. But if you're recommending Arizona now, I feel like you kind of lost the value. To be honest, I wouldn't really bet spreads on the day of the game anyway, if I was to give some advice, because by the time you get to game day, most of the spread value is gone. Most of the sharps, and the early action is kind of already dictated where this line is going to go. The total, I'm kind of on the fence with. I feel like I could see a 40-point game from the Cardinals, and it just turns into that kind of matchup where it's like a 40 to 14 game or something along those lines. But also at the same time, a lot of sharp action coming in on the Packers, and it's difficult to envision, even as good as Devontae Adams is, that he's worth 3.5, maybe even 4 or 3 points to the spread. It's rare for me to see that many points move just off of one player. I know that you could say Alan Lazard, but trust me, if Alan Lazard was ruled out of this game, this spread would not move at all. So,
right.
I like Lazard. Don't get me wrong. Let's just be real here. One's elite. The other one is a wide receiver too on a pretty good passing offense. So, I think with this game, for me, I'm not going to play the side or total. If I had to play, it would probably be Packers plus 6.5. But then I would also probably play the over, because if I am playing the Packers plus 6.5, that means they're putting up points. It's probably going to be more of a competitive game. So then we're going to probably see maybe a 30 to 24 game kind of thing. So I think we would get the over on that total.
Yeah, good call. I never really thought about it like that. I am on the Packers, but I was just thinking it would be a bit of a lower score. It's not one of my favorite bets, that's for sure. Let's call some touchdowns. What do you got? Who's the first guy you like here?
Yeah, first guy I like. So just a disclaimer, generally I don't play picks below plus 200. That's always been kind of like my hard and fast rule. Now I will break it every once in a while for a specific player like this. Kyler Murray. Got him at plus 140 at FanDuel before this morning. And the reason why I don't play the guys below plus 200 is because we've seen, or at least I have the tracking, that guys who are below plus 200, so the minus 150 as high as where Derrick Henry is, right up to the plus 200 range, they're hitting only just slightly better than the guys in between the plus 200 and plus 500 range. And you'd have more profit if you were just betting the plus 200 to plus 500 guys. But you have guys like Kyler Murray, who are athletic freaks, who can run around the edge very quickly, especially against a defensive line that is already weakened without Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. I think he could very much rush for a touchdown today, especially because one of the things that I like about him is that he's got 8 red zone carries. Obviously James Conner is the bell cow right now, but that's more than Chase Edmonds. And Chase Edmonds is probably around the plus 200, plus 250 range. He's got more red zone carries than Chase, and he has more red zone touchdowns than Chase Edmonds. So essentially, to me, Kyler Murray is the backup running back. So I'm going to take him at plus 140, especially when his odds are usually around, plus 105, plus 110, depending on the matchup.
Yeah.
I feel like plus 140 is a steal of the line.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, he's not running around as much. I had the conversation with Jake Seeley in All in Football over at Bets TV. You can catch him 3 times a week over there as well, and on Game Plus Network in the evenings. He's not running around as much, but he still is. He still has 3 rushing touchdowns. Like you said, he still calls his own number inside the red zone. And I feel like all of his rushing touchdowns are so awesome. Like, I don't know how he fools the defenders the way that he does. Like, if I was a defender, I would just be focusing in on Kyler. But he does like the quick little end around, the little shimmy shake.
Because of his quickness, right? Like, and that's the thing, his juke and shimmies. And then part of the thing that I would just say to that comment about him not rushing as much, I think that partially was game script. Because if you look at the last 3 games, like against San Francisco, there wasn't really much to do from a running standpoint. I think they were locked in on him. But then against Houston as well, like he didn't need to run. Like they were already up like 3 scores like within like the first half. So like I think that's the one thing too, is that you go back more closer to the beginning of the season against some of the tougher teams that they were playing. And even just like against the Rams, like the Rams did everything they could to sell out the run on him, and he still rushed for 59 yards on 6 carries. He just never went for it in the end zone. James Conner was the one who was actually doing the damage. But again, that's the kind of thing that I like about Kyler, is that I think in this kind of matchup, I think because of the fact that they're not going to have a 2 or 3 score lead very quickly like they would on a team like Houston, he is going to have to run the ball a little bit more, especially as the pocket collapses around him.
Well, that's exactly what I said to Jake Seeley, too, is that the games haven't been competitive. I mean, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double-digit point wins, and they've outscored their opponents 68-19 over the last 2 games. So there's no real need for Kyler to run around. I agree with you 100%. All right, what else do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Cardinals, and I'm going with AJ Green at plus 210. I've bet him now twice this year. The first time he bit me at like plus 225, and then I was able to get him again at plus 310, and he cashed in the last score of the fourth quarter against Cleveland when they didn't even have to score. It was a game that I was told that there was going to be like no touchdowns because of how bad the weather was in Cleveland, and Cleveland still Arizona still was just chucking the ball and doing whatever they wanted to do. He's second on the team in red zone targets and red zone touchdowns, and part of the reason why I kind of like AJ, especially over the plus 200 odds, is I'm a little concerned with DeAndre Hopkins. He didn't practice at all coming into the game. Obviously, it's a hamstring issue, and I think that he still will play. But if he gets hobbled at all, if he just takes like one bad snap, like where the hamstring acts up on him, AJ Green is easily going to become wide receiver 1 in this offense. Now, it was difficult for me to choose between AJ Green, Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore because I think they all offer different values, and you can get them just in accordance, like plus 210, and then Christian Kirk maybe plus 250, and then Rondale Moore up to the plus 300. If you're not feeling AJ Green, I wouldn't be mad at you if you would have Christian Kirk, because he's got 4 touchdowns this year. The problem with Kirk is that they come in bunches. So far, 2 games this year, 2 touchdowns in each of them. The rest of them kind of just hit or miss, even though he is getting volume from a pass catcher standpoint. So again, it's kind of one of those things that I wouldn't be mad if you were going to double dip and you wanted to do AJ Green and Christian Kirk as a little bit of a profit gain kind of thing.
Yeah, Kirk was like that last year too. All of his touchdowns kind of came in bunches, and then he was super quiet. I think there was a game last year, I don't know if it was against your Cowboys, it was against somebody else, where he had like 2 touches and he had 2 touchdowns. One was like an end around that he scored. But AJ Green has been surprisingly good. I'm ready to take the L on that. He's staying healthy. Obviously, Kyler's a great quarterback and the offense is awesome, but he's a big body for Kyler too, to throw the football inside the red zone if he doesn't call his own number. And Jukes had a couple defenders and scores himself. I do like Kirk as well. Yeah, I'm seeing Kirk at plus 225. Kind of like similar odds there with those 2 guys. I'm seeing some questions rolling, guys. We'll get to them before Jill gets out of here. I'll make sure I ask him that. Do you have another, are you going anywhere with these Green Bay guys? Randall Cobb's probably going to be a popular one, but I think he's in for a decent day. Plus 225. You got MVS plus 250. Economist St. Brown, he's like plus 400. What's Robert Tonyan at? Plus 225. I don't know. Are you going with any Packers? I know we're good to quarterback theme here. We just talked about Kyler. I don't know if you're in on Rodgers. You're going to go the other way.
No, not this time. No, and the thing is that both touchdowns that Rodgers has scored, they were improbable. Like against the Bears, it was a broken down play. It wasn't even supposed to happen. Same thing against the Steelers. I just don't know if Arizona is going to be that. I think they'll be more disciplined defensively to be ready for that. The guy that I actually went for, I did play a Packer. Don't love it. So I'm just going to tell you right now, it's more of a long shot bet for a reason.
I'm here
But
for
I
it.
went with Amari Rogers at plus
Okay.
650. He's a rookie receiver out of Clemson. He hasn't played a ton of snaps, but to me, if you look at just what Equanimeous St. Brown has done and Randall Cobb, to me, this is the best value on the board because I got it at plus 650. This is that points bet. And with no Adams, you know, and I know that you just got done talking up Cobb, but let's be real. Randall Cobb is ancient for a wide receiver. He's old, and MVS is coming off of injury. So I don't really know where he's at physically to be able to feel comfortable betting him, especially like I would prefer to play MVS with Devontae Adams on the other side. So that way less of the defensive attention is on him. Instead, now he's going to be playing the number one corner against Arizona. Not in my wheelhouse for that. So you could talk me into Equanimeous St. Brown at plus 250. I have seen him score touchdowns with the Packers before, and he technically has more snaps than Amari Rogers. I just think the pecking order, the way it's going to go, is that Randall Cobb will probably be the number one MVS. I think he's going to be in and out of. I think he'll rotate a little bit more than some of these wide receivers. So for me, I was kind of looking at St. Brown and Amari Rogers, and just that Rogers to Rogers connection. I was just like, man, plus 650. I think that's the one I'm going to play. Just as a long shot, because for me, I like Robert Tonyan. He had 11 touchdowns last year. He's got 2 this year. But the Cardinals have been really good against tight ends this year. I've yet to allow a touchdown to a tight end. And just there was no way that I was going to play Randall Cobb this week. Outside of that game against the Steelers where he caught 2 touchdowns, he hasn't really done anything this year. The fact that he has some games like where he might have like 5 receptions and 50 yards. And if you're in a deep 12-team league and you need a flex or a third wide receiver, sure. But at the same time, don't be playing him, betting him, or starting him under the idea that you're going to get a touchdown. You're just looking at it more from a volume standpoint.
Yeah, I do think that line that you just gave on him is very doable, like 5 for 50 or something like that. It's a long time since he led not only the team but the league in red zone targets a few years ago when I think it was like 2015 or something. He had like double-digit touchdowns. He was a beast that season. Of course, they had Jordy Nelson. The Packers were flying high that year. But yeah, he's not the same wide receiver. There's no doubt about that. An opportunity for Amari Rogers here this evening. I'd like to see him get some more snaps and see what they have. They finally drafted an offensive player for Aaron Rodgers. I was talking to Tino before the break, before we came on here, and we were just talking about just like guys that Rodgers has thrown the football to and has made look good over the years. Mm-hmm. He's only thrown a touchdown pass to one former first-round pick ever. Mercedes Lewis.
I was about to say, I was trying to think deep, and I was like, okay, so. But even then, they didn't even draft him. He was drafted by Jacksonville, right? So that's why I was like, wait a minute, I had to think about it for a second. But yeah, he would have been drafted by Jacksonville and then signed there. So yeah, and that's the Packers for you, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Okay, before we get you out of here, it's like, I'm going to put you on the spot. There's some stuff here. FFB Legend says, so you like Murray rush over, ? If Hopkins is out, I think the match is even, and then I will be pushing my luck on Green Bay money line. Kyler Murray's rushing props at 27.5. If you do feel like this game is going to be pretty competitive, do you think that's a number that I'm not going to bet that, but I may lean the over on that
Here's my thing too, and this is like why I don't mean to ever crap on props or whatever else, like certain props like this. This is not just, it's just my mentality that I'm always looking for plus money. So again, if you can get it, like one of the things that I was looking at, for example, at BetMGM, I was like, okay, well, what about if I just took the over 40 yards, the alternate one for plus 250 kind of thing. I was like, okay, maybe I could see that kind of happening. Once you start to get in the minus 110 range, especially from a quarterback who could start kneeling, you know what I mean? And then lose 3 to 4 yards as well, just on that. It's so risky, but that's the thing, is I feel like Kyler is the type of player that he could rush for a touchdown just outside of the red zone or within the red zone. So I think for myself, I would probably stay away from that. I would probably go towards an under, just because I think if he is going to score, it's going to be within the 5-yard line.
And then, do you like Aaron Rodgers over 263.5 passing yards? Producer Tino chimed in here too. Rodgers gone over 265 passing yards only twice this season. Without Adams, it's probably going to be in a tough spot for him to do. This is another stay away. I suppose you'd have a very similar answer to 263.
No, I do like the over on it, just because I feel like if the game script goes the way that I think it's going to go, which is the Cardinals are going to get up early fast, he's going to have to throw. And one of the things that I love about it is when you have a weapon like Aaron Jones, you could rack up the passing yards fairly quickly with a guy like him, just because he can get like 60 yards on 5 catches. And then you're going to have Tunyon as well. And then maybe we might see a couple of bombs to Rodgers and St. Brown and to a lesser extent, MVS and Cobb. So I just think by default, he might go to 300 yards because I think he's going to have to throw like 55 times tonight to try to keep pace with this Cardinals offense.
Yeah, and I think Aaron Jones probably has a big day through the air as well. And if he does hit MVS over the top, even if he's limited and he just plays like, I don't know, 50% of the snaps, he's going to get a couple deep ball targets. He's among the leaders in ADOT. You can use the free tools over at ftnfantasy.com. If he does hook up with him for one of those deep balls, then you could be on your way there. That bet is a lot more intriguing than the 27.5 rushing yards for a guy in Kyler. Jill's always a pleasure, man. Check him out, GDog5000 on Twitter machine. Check out those 2 shows. You're going to love them. Touchdown Town and Dog Day Afternoon at Bets TV. And the Twitter handle is at Bets Media. Thank you, sir, as always, for stopping by. Good luck tonight. I want to see those emojis with the tongue out. I want to see that.
Show me the Amari Rodgers tickets.
Let's go. All right, more NFL talk here to come and some NHL talk as well. Don't go anywhere. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Always messing around with the camera here. You cut off the Eagles hat. It's all good. Let's continue this Thursday night football talk here between the Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. So I have a couple props here for you that I am feeling here this evening. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of like Randall Cobb here just a little bit. I do think he finds the end zone. I think he scores a touchdown here today. I agree with a lot of what Jill said. He's not the same dude over the years, but Rodgers is familiar with him. I still think he could be a red zone target for him. At plus 225, I don't mind that. But at the end of the day here, he is a guy that I think will get over 4.5 receptions and over 45 receiving yards. Christian Kirk over 43.5 receiving yards. This is a number that he has gone over a few times this season, 5 times. He has at least 5 targets in 5 games as well. He's been used a little bit more this season. And what Jill said, I agree with DeAndre Hopkins. He is going to play in this game. Cliff Kingsbury said that he expects him to play. He could potentially be limited in this role, but Christian Kirk has got that high ADOT. They can take a couple of deep shots with him down the field. So I like him to get over 43.5 receiving yards. He can get this on like 1 catch, 2 catches. Aaron Jones is what I talked about earlier with Aaron Jones at 35.5 receiving yards for Jones. I mentioned at ftnbets.com, this is a bet that we put in. I at least put in my bet tracker. I know a couple others did as well. Kevin Adams brought it to my attention. When the prop was released, it was at 29.5 receiving yards. And Jones in games without Davante Adams using our split tool over at FTN averages 30 more receiving yards per game without Davante Adams. That's the prop right there in itself. And you look at Aaron Jones, even last week, 5 for 20, not a whole lot, but he had 5 targets, 4 grabs. A week before that, 4 catches for 34 yards. He's had at least 4 grabs in each of his past 3 games. He's had at least 4 in 4 games this season. He has some monster receiving yard games too. 6 for 48. 3 for 51, 4 for 34. I do believe that Arizona is going to be able to put up 30 points here today, and Green Bay is going to have to throw the football with no Adams and no Lazard. And say what you want about Lazard, I get it. He's not all that great of a football player, but he does have touchdowns in the back-to-back games, and he's a guy that has been getting a little bit more work over the past couple of weeks. You do have some uncertainty when it comes to Amari Rodgers and MVS, and even Randall Cobb is an older guy, and how much volume can he handle here? And Robert Tonyan, I'm sure, is going to get a boost, even though Arizona has been good against tight ends. That Aaron Jones is a guy that I think will get 5 or 6 targets in this game, and he's just one of the best pass-catching receivers, running backs in the entire league. This is a guy that is probably going to touch the ball here 20 times, I think, in this game. Maybe he gives you 12 to 13 carries and gets 5 or 6 targets out of the backfield and flirts with that 20 opportunity mark. So even at 38.5, I want to jump on that. Of course, I like 29.5 and 30.5 much better. You're seeing in other books mid 40s now. You can get that at PointsBet at 38.5. And I do like the under. I think it's a little high at 50.5. At 50.5 in there. I do agree. I see your comment there, FFB legend. It's all good. Randall Cobb over 4.5 receptions, and I think he gets to 50 receiving yards. And he did say, just to continue with the comments here, he likes Murray rushing over because the previous matchup this year, Green Bay has had Heineke rush 95 yards and no other runner. And another runner in Goff had 46. Yeah, I get it. The numbers are there. It's kind of proof there. Heineke was running for his life. He had that big run last week as well. If it's a competitive game, we could see Kyler Murray run around a little bit more as well. NFL, there it is. It's I didn't have a pick on the game. I think that the Packers cover, but it's not my favorite pick on the board. 6.5 is not really where I would like to lay my money, but I do think that the under is there. Just to kind of recap, I think Aaron Jones, Kirk, Cobb, that's kind of where I'm feeling with those 3 guys, and then take some shots on the touchdowns that Jill did give us. All right, NHL in here next. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Let's talk a little NHL action. There are 9 games on the ice here this evening, so we got some shot props and some picks here. We got Troy, NHL shot. SOG God, I don't know about that, dude. We're riding a hot wave, and I like the comment from George too, because I like that Cookie Monster and bathroom kit. Need NHL picks. Let's get after it. Let's start with the picks. You know, if you got the picks, the straight up picks, 9 games on the ice. I mentioned earlier that Dangle Bet Selly is a free show with myself and Eric Young where we broke down every single game in the NHL. I'm going to continue to ride here with the Carolina Hurricanes against the Bruins. They played last night. They lost in Florida. I like this Hurricanes team quite a bit. They are, I think, true cup contenders. They got 4 very good lines. I know the Bruins are a good team as well. Frederik Andersen has been awesome here for Carolina to start the season, so I'm taking them on the money line at -130. I like Minnesota as well. The Wild were good to us the other day against Vancouver, and I just think that they're a better team than the Seattle Kraken. I know the Kraken won their last game, but they're giving up a lot of rubber. They're among the leaders in goals against, and Minnesota is a strong defensive team with good goaltending, and I think overall they're just a better unit. I'm surprised, honestly, that this is -110. It's basically a pick 'em with Minnesota. I got the Sharks here over the Habs. So the Montreal Canadiens haven't won in San Jose in this century. The last time that they won in San Jose was 1999. 1999. Does anybody know what they were doing in 1999? I don't know. I was just a kid, man, playing ball hockey, watching the Habs win a game in San Jose probably. 1999. That's like 0-12 over that span. They've been outscored 51-21. I know that they don't play there very often, and they haven't played there in a couple years, and it's just once a year. But the Sharks are playing really good hockey right now, and the Canadiens are not. They've scored 1 goal in 6 of their past 7. The one game that they scored more than 1 goal, it came against Detroit. They had 6 goals. They are dead last in almost every single offensive category. I am always hesitant of just picking a team at home after a long road trip. I usually am hesitant in that, but honestly, this is it's really nothing to do with the trend. I think the Canadiens can go in and win a game in San Jose, but at the end of the day, the Sharks are much better right now. They're playing good hockey. They already beat Montreal once this season, 5-0. You can't count on the Habs here, so I do like San Jose. And then Colorado, -120 against the Blues. The Blues will be without their best defensive forward in Ryan O'Reilly here. Colorado haven't been good to start the season. They just lost the other night to Vegas. Get away from Colorado, go into St. Louis. I think that they can win this game. And then Philadelphia and Vancouver over 6. You can get in some spots 6.5. I'd just like to get it at 6 because in case that push, if you want to include them into a parlay. The Flyers played last night. I do have a bit of a lean that they will win this game. Again, they're plus money here, but against the Canucks, both teams give up a lot of rubber, a lot of high-quality chances. Vancouver scoring goals. They're playing pretty good themselves, and the Flyers had a nice win last night against the Edmonton Oilers, but I really like that second line, and Philadelphia has added them a nice little boost with Cam Atkinson, Derek Brassard, and Joel Farabee. So let's switch over and talk about a couple shot props that I like here. Some of the usual suspects on the board, but hey, I mean, they've been good to us, so let's continue to go back to them. There'll be times where the odds won't be great. Books will adjust, and we can find value elsewhere, but I don't know why we wouldn't continue to attack some of these guys like Andrei Svechnikov, a volume shooter. He's inside the top 15 in shot attempts at 5-5 this season. He's cleared 2.5 in every single game this year. Nikolai Ehlers, we got lucky with him just the other day, but he's a guy that I really do like. He's cleared 2.5 in 4 of his past 6, 3, 5, 6, and 8. He's had some monster shot games this season. The LA Kings are giving up a lot defensively over the past couple games. They come in riding, I believe, a 5-game losing streak, and they're without their best defenseman and Drew Doughty here tonight. So I like Nikolai Ehlers over 2.5. And Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov is a guy that we hit on this show on Tuesday. He has cleared it in every single game but one, and he's yet to score a goal. And you know what? Sometimes with these goal scorers, they just, when they don't have a goal yet, they continue to press and put more pucks on net. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Kirill Kaprizov at 2.5 shots against Seattle. I think they're going to be an okay defensive squad, but right now, a lot of new pieces on the team, new coaching staff. They're allowing a more rubber than they probably would like at 5-5 especially. And like I said, I mean, defensively, they're giving up a lot of goals. Timo Meier is inside the top 10 in shot attempts. He's just been so good to us. Timo Meier is a guy that I think we need to continue to ride. And as I mentioned with the Canadiens, they're not a good team defensively. They're missing a lot of guys from last year's Cup run. I'm seeing people talk about a fluke run. That's fine. You can call it a fluke run if you want. But no Carey Price, no Shea Weber, no Joel Edmondson, no Philip Deneau. Deneau is one of the best defensive forwards in the league. So honestly, with Timo Meier here, look at the shots that he's had: 8, 7, 3. 2 against the Leafs, 3, and then 4 his last time out, playing heavy minutes. That Sharks top line is really good. Get involved with them in DFS. Logan Couture is at 1.5 shots if you wanted to go that way. And Jonathan Dahlen is looking pretty good on top of that line. Nice little rookie. And then Blake Coleman. Blake Coleman, maybe that one where it's like, nah, I'm not going Blake Coleman. There's 9 games on the schedule. Why would I go Blake Coleman? Well, he hit last time. He's hit every single game that he's played this season. He has a game with 8 shots on goal, and he's plus 140. He's plus 140 over at DraftKings against the Penguins. I said earlier on Dangle Bet Selly that it looked like Sidney Crosby was close to returning. He's actually not going to play in this game. Thanks, producer Tino, for that comment. Just that little bit of information. I kind of like Calgary as dogs here. Again, they've been really good to us. They're off to a really good start this season. Blake Coleman has added another element to their top 6, a little bit of offensive firepower. So Blake Coleman at 2.5 shots against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Calgary wasn't on the board, but I think you can get involved with them. And then just because, why not? A couple more here that's not on the board. David Pastrnak over 3.5. If you don't want to go with Ehlers or Kyle Connor, these guys are juiced up depending on what book you play. On the other side, Dustin Brown and Victor Arvidsson are going to be great plays as well. Cam Atkinson at 2.5. We've got a lot of action over at ftmbets.com, a lot of NHL action. I'm going to quickly rapid fire through some ads and some drops here next, and Tino has some baseball or some basketball picks for us as well. So a couple more segments here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here. Appreciate the comments. Troy Nowak, I saw the screenshot of Dangle Bet Sally. Appreciate you, dude. Sorry I haven't had the chance to individually just reply back to you. Very thankful that you subscribed to the show. Appreciate you. You did say that you gave the screenshot, so you will be in the draw. We'll draw on Tuesday. Good luck to you. Hopefully you can win a betting package there. And then Sammy Telesco says Blake Coleman is a big sleeper that no one likes. I agree. Nobody seemed to want to draft him in fantasy hockey, and his shot props at plus 140 is pretty solid there. He says my Sabres suck, but they should be able to handle the Ducks here tonight. They're off to a pretty good start. Sammy. So enjoy it while you can, though, because I do agree the Sabres are not the best team. Here's a couple of most added and dropped players before we get to Tino. Let's start with the added. You got Andrew Mangiapane in there, 7 goals this season. He actually had 5 in his past 6 games, or his last 6 last season before the year ended. So he's been on a heck of a run here, and he's a sniper, man. He's a really good player. Pick him up if you can, because you may not be able to get him too soon. A couple guys on this list that I don't really care for. Brendan Tanev is okay if you're playing in a league with hits. Like, he's like one of those bangers guys. If you're playing with hits, he could be a real nice asset to you. And he's scoring goals, which is nice. It's a nice little bonus in there. Josh Morrissey's a nice little defenseman. Andrew Kopp I think he was just really picked up because the Jets without Scheifele, without Wheeler. Wheeler's expected back here today. Kopp is okay. He was one of my favorite waiver wire pickups last season. If he sticks inside a role inside the top 6, he can provide a little bit of offense for you, but I don't think he's a great asset in 12-team leagues. Cam Atkinson Atkinson is an absolute must. This guy was on all over the draft package. Get this guy where you can. Take his shot props. Last night he scored a couple goals. He had 4 or 5 shots on goal. As I said in the last segment, he's really added another element to Philadelphia. Logan Couture, you're really missing out on Couture. Victor Olofsson in deep leagues. Absolutely in a 14-team league, somebody has to score there in Buffalo. Drake Batherson, a shout out to Batherson, who played his hockey where I currently play my pickup hockey in Nova Scotia. What a stud. This guy's a baller. He had a hat trick the other day. Grab him. He's one of those guys can touch a lot of categories for you. He could have 200 shots, 200 hits, and 30 goals this year. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly. I think he could score 30 this year. And then Rasmus Anderson, a nice little defenseman for the Calgary Flames, can give you some power play time as well. Let's go to the drops here. Tino, the most drop players. Zach Cassian, what are you doing? Why'd you even draft this guy? I know we played with McDavid last year, but they brought in Zach Hyman. Let's be real. Zach Cassian does not belong on your fantasy hockey roster. Joe Pavelski, I would drop as well. He's only averaging 15 minutes per game compared to 19 last season. And the Dallas Stars don't score goals. A couple guys on this list, William Karlsson and Riley Smith. Vegas, one of 5 teams to play 4 games next week. So if you have those guys, maybe hold on to them for one more week. But yeah, the offense is kind of dried up, even though they do have wins in back-to-back games. Rupe Hintz, I would hold on just a little bit. He's like the one Dallas Star guy I would hold on to. Jamie Benn's not doing it for me. Robertson, I would hold on to. Jason Robertson, I'd hold on to as well. Drew Doughty, if you can plug him on IR, I don't think he's going to miss a lot of time, so he could be okay for you as well. Michael Bunting in a deep league, a deep sleeper, because he is playing with Austin Matthews and William Nylander as well. And Jonathan Toews, yeah, you can just cut him. I mean, you can cut him on the performance. You can cut him on his stupid comments. You can cut him all together. No time for Jonathan Toews these days. All right. I got lots of time for producer Tino. He's going to drop by later. Got a couple basketball picks. It's a busy night in the NBA, too. Geez, what do we got? 6 games in the association? I just love October. It's the best. Stick around. NBA next here on Mean Streets. All right, welcome back to Mean Streets here one final time. Producer Tino, you told me this in the break. We got to give some love here to Sammy Telesco for hanging out with us here on this show. Yep. He was talking about the Sabres. He did say 12 people watching and only 4 likes. Don't be a freeloader. That's a jokes comment there. We appreciate the people hanging out here and watching on Game Plus Network. But I really like this last comment. Awesome-o is my home, but I found you guys and I'm impressed. Good job. We appreciate you. Yes, we like it. We got some NHL props. We're touching all the sports here on this show, some picks, and over at FTN, we have you covered across all the sports as well. Appreciate you, Sammy, for the comment and for hanging out. Good luck if you're making some bets, and good luck to your Sabres tonight. Tino, we got about 2.5 minutes or so. What are you thinking from an NBA standpoint here tonight? What do you got?
Well, first off, shout out to Sammy. Please like, subscribe, thumbs up, do it all. Turn the notifications on. We are a show every day here on FTN Network, Monday through Friday. So we'll be your new home if you're looking for one. Second part, we have construction going on in the house, but the bets don't sleep, Meaney. We got drills going on. We got banging going on, and I'm here to bang some bets with you guys. So I want to touch on the fact that we have a big NBA game tonight. I know it's early in the regular season. NBA regular season doesn't really count for anything, and that's true, but a Thibodeau revenge game going back into Chicago with the 3-1 Knicks going against the undefeated resurging Bulls. I mean, I think this is the game to watch. This is the game of the night, 8 o'clock NBA TV. I think we have a loaded slate. We have some dogs we want to bet, including one against your Mavericks. But I just want to touch on the fact that the Bulls are back. I truly believe that. I know we're 4 games in. And the Knicks from last year, I think, are back, in their own right. I think this is an early playoff matchup. And this is some good basketball, despite it being the regular season. Okay, Spurs +7 against the Mavs on the road, and Hawks +6 against Golden State are my bets. The Grizzlies 2-2, Golden State undefeated. They've been knocking on the door of their first loss of the season. Golden State's great. Have a Steph MVP bet out there. Have a Golden State championship bet out there. Love them all. Love them all. But the Warriors have been playing games close. The only common opponent these two teams have together were both wins against the Clippers under 6 points. So we're looking at that 6. And the Spurs, despite the record being the reverse of the Mavs, the Spurs are better than the record says they are. And the Mavs, you know this, I just don't think they're that good. I don't think they're that good.
I agree.
We're there, and then we got the Hawks. Hawks -3 against the Wizards. These are two teams with identical records, but they will be heading in completely separate directions very soon. The Wizards kind of playing above their heads right now. They do have some pieces, Dinwiddie, Kuzma. Basically the Lakers last year are now on the Wizards. They have Bradley Beal. That's great. But the Hawks are the Hawks. I mean, I think they proved it last year. They're 3-1. Their only loss was against the Cavs, which looked bad. But the Cavs are beating some good teams. The Cavs are, they're not a laughingstock of the league anymore, apparently. Maybe I'll eat my words down the road. They could just be starting hot, but they just beat the Clippers on the road. They beat Denver. Markkanen just dunked on Jokic. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the NBA. So with all that said, I like the Hawks to beat the Wizards. Spurs Grizz to cover, and I'm taking the Bulls in that must-see matchup. I'm taking the Bulls.
Okay. Giddy up. We got to get out of here. We were overtime yesterday. Glennie Mac, my apologies to you, hanging out in Toronto control room. I'm seeing all the comments come, the questions. George, you are an absolute GOAT, man. Thanks so much for all the things that you do for this show. And by the way, Steph is 500 now to win the MVP. He was 9-1. Jump on that now because that's his award. For producer Tino, George running the show for us as well. Myself, Chris Meaney. Good luck tonight on the ice, on the hard court, on the football field, everything. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good one. Cheers.